Good morning. I'm always amazed when this works. You know,
Technology is amazing.
maybe you don't know. Since you grew up in an era where you're surrounded by miracles, everywhere you go, everything you touch, everything you do is a miracle. And you don't even pay any attention to it. It's like a fish paying attention to water. Like, how could it even do that?
Philosophy. That's
It's
how.
just there. Like, it's just the stuff that is. Like, here I am. Can we think about this for a second? You and me. Can we think about this for just a second? Let's think about it for just a second. I think it will improve our lives. It will make us happier. Taya, so glad you're here. I think it will make us better people. So let us consider this. Yay, Elizabeth Ray. Let us consider the miracles that are happening right this second, right here in this class. Okay, can we consider those things? I am speaking out loud in a lovely little office. Well, it's not as tidy as it might be, but it's a lovely little office in Lehi, Utah. Okay, so here I am. And I'm just talking, just saying words and waving my arms around, but that's different. Okay, so when I talk, I wave my arms. So I got to get exercise somehow. Anyway, so I'm speaking, just talking. Here I am sitting in my room talking. Somehow, this little gizmo here in front of me, that's one of my favorite words, gizmo. It collects the sounds that I'm making. I do not know how it does this, but it does that. And then it somehow turns those things. Yeah, okay, very nice. You know how.
I can explain it.
In a minute, I'm going to let you explain it to me.
Just wait till you hear about Bluetooth. It's even crazier.
But not right now. I'm pontificating about miracles. Don't interrupt me. All right, so, and then it turns it into some sort of electronica, digits of various. Shut up. You with the hand. Okay. And then it transmits it through. There's no wire. There is a wire, but it's not doing anything with the sounds that I'm making. So it combines them and then transmits them through the air to another device that is over that way somewhere. That device collects those things somehow and then transmits them. This is probably through a wire to someplace else, somewhere else. And then that thing broadcasts them into the atmosphere somehow. I don't know, probably into space. I have no idea. You guys are out in the middle of nowhere, so some of you are definitely getting this thing through space. I don't know. So, and then that gizmo, the Becks are here, just in time for our pontification about miracles. Okay, you're halfway through the miracle of this morning. So then it collects those things in space and beams them back down to the planet to, at the moment, 15 different locations, where another gizmo unscrambles all of this, puts it probably into a wire, and transmits it through that wire to something else that almost certainly transmits it through the air again to your gizmo, where your gizmo takes in the signal, unscrambles all of it, and then, behold, on your screen is a picture that at least vaguely resembles what I look like. I'm actually far better looking than the camera makes me appear, as all of you know. But it's a close approximation. You can at least tell that it's me. And then my voice comes out of your speaker. I don't know how any of this works. I think it was it Clark or Heinlein? One of you will know this, who said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Okay, now you can talk because I have to remember which guy that was.
I thought it was Einstein personally,
Except
but I could be wrong. I'll Google it.
yeah, just make sure. It was either Clark or Heinlein. It's always either Clark or Heinlein.
It is Clark.
Clark's amazing. I was.
Oh, this guy's cool.
Sorry, what? Who, Clark?
This guy's really cool. Yeah.
Yes. Now your whole day is ruined because it's going to be Arthur C. Clarke all day. There's nothing wrong with Arthur C. Clarke. Well, I mean, he's dead, but other than that, there's nothing wrong with him. I'm sure he's just fine, except for he's dead. My guess is he's not even terribly disappointed. Pontificating means what I've just been doing here, sort of talking about something and I would say waxing rhapsodic, but I don't think that's going to help you define pontificating terribly well, so I'll steer clear of that. Try not to define one term.
I have the definition if you want it.
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you, Taya.
Expresses one's opinions in a way considered annoyingly pompous and dogmatic. Something like that.
Well, that is terribly not what I'm doing. That is absolutely not. I haven't done any of that, ever. All right, I will try to simply discourse then instead of pontificate. How about that? Is that better? I was, the reason that I mentioned this, well, one of the reasons I mentioned this, I'm reading this delightful book, All the Light We Cannot See. It's a World War II book, for those of you who are World War II history buffs. And I can already tell that it is like rip your heart out tragic. It's about two people. It's about a blind French girl, a young 10-year-old French girl who goes blind just before the war, and a young German boy of about the same age, who, well, I guess he's a little bit older, who one day finds growing up in a coal town in Germany where he's been told all his life that he's going to end up having to go to the coal mines. Did I lose everybody? Wow, the internet's already sucking. That's just terrible.
Got thrown in your face, Mr. C.
Yeah.
Oh, he's back. Dang it.
And then I get annoyed when the miracle doesn't continue for 8 seconds. I'm like, what is this? This is terrible. My life sucks. Yeah, so yeah, we do that all the time, right? Right? Yeah. Here's a miracle. I don't understand. I couldn't fix it if it went bad. I have no idea how it's even happening. And when it doesn't happen like perfectly, I get annoyed. This is
the 21st century.
Yeah, well, this is not just the 21st century, dude. The Israelites did this. Every day they have this miracle. Manna shows up. Just food shows up in the middle of the desert. Every day. Fairly good tasting food. I mean, I don't know. I've never had manna. But it sounds good. When they describe it, sounds pretty good. It shows up every darn day. And after a while, the Israelites are like, geez, manna, this is horrible. And God's like, what is it that you want? They're like, we want quail. We want meat. So God says, fine. Here is a locust swarm of quail. And then everybody gets quail, and then they get sick because they ate so much quail. And then he's like, is that better? You like that? Huh? No, they didn't like that. They were not, but that's us. I mean, I'm not different. I'm the same sort of guy. I'm like, yeah, I have this magic thing where I can conduct this class with 15 people who don't live anywhere near me, and everybody's like, oh, cool. And then my internet goes kind of fritzy for about 8 seconds, and I'm like, this is terrible. Why is this like this? So anyway, back to World War II. So the young German kid living in a coal town, he's been told all his life he's going to end up in the coal mine. One day out back of a shed somewhere, he and his sister were playing, and they found a radio. It didn't work, but he didn't know what it was at first. But it's coils of wire and resistors and on a board, and he's like, this is cool. And so he brought it home and tinkered with it. Some of you are like, yeah, that's totally, I do that all the time. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll get there, Jetty. I promise. A little bit at a time, man. This is sort of warm up to make sure we get everybody into class. But anyway, so he starts tinkering with it, and he figures out how to fix it. And he starts listening to broadcasts from all over Europe. I mean, when you're in central Germany, you can get broadcasts from everywhere. Poland, France, whatever. They speak a little French. Their mother's French. So they speak some French, and they've been getting French language science broadcasts. He figures out how to turn it into a shortwave. He tinkers with it because that's, what you do. He's got the thing, so he tinkers with it, splices in wire, learns how to do the stuff. Anyway, he ends up in the German army. I don't know what is going to happen to him, except that it won't be good. And I'm not sure what's going to happen to the poor girl, but that won't be good either because it's World War II. But the writing is achingly beautiful. And I'm going to read you. I decided I'm going to do this. I'm going to, speaking of miracles, this is just a parenthetical on the side of the main topic, which is itself a parenthetical on the main topic of the class. So just chill, all right? If you didn't like this kind of thing, you shouldn't take my class. All right, so I have a new email program. I got sick of the one that I had. It was consuming way too much RAM on my computer, eating up resources. So I got a new email program, and it's incredible. It's a miracle. I love it. It's amazing. In addition to which, every time an email comes in, it makes it sound like a lightsaber starting up. I'm still not used to that, and so every time that happens, I have to look over and see what the lightsaber thing is. You'd think I would, like, oh yeah, it's just an email. No, I'm not used to it. It's still awesome. So I love you too, random citizen. All right. So where is the page? The way it's described. The way it's described when they finally hear something come out of the radio. Okay. I have to read this to you. Because, look, all right, here's why. You're Jetty, as I know, wondering why this is not about Egypt. Okay, let me tell you why. Okay, first of all, learning is learning. Second of all, if you don't have gratitude in your heart, you're not going to learn anything. Because only grateful people can really learn. You have to have a sense of awe, a sense of wonder, a sense of the world is filled with miracles and amazingness, and if you don't have that, then you're not going to learn. I mean, you'll still learn stuff because your brain is like can't stop. It's learning stuff all the time. But the more grateful you are and the more appreciative you are of the things that are around you, the astonishing miracles that we're surrounded with all the time, the more likely it is that you will learn something and something valuable, and that it will then actually change the person that you are, which is the point. Because if it doesn't do that, it doesn't matter what you know. Computers know way more than you do, but they're not better people than you are. Does that make sense? A computer doesn't know how to interpret the information in order to make moral choices, but you do. And the only way that's going to happen, the only way it's going to actually change your programming so that you behave in a way that is the most consistent with the person you are and you want to be, the only way that's going to happen is if you have gratitude, if you have a sense of wonder. And one of the things I love about this class is that it's filled with people like that. I love that smile, man. And your very amazing shirt, I have to tell you. That is a fine shirt. It's not as good, I have to say, as Rachel Louise's dinosaurs, which are the coolest thing that's on camera right at this particular moment. Well, all right, so Josie's little sister is probably number one, but the dinosaurs are really close, I just have to say. All right, anyway. So here is this chapter. What if they smite us? Jetty, I love how your head works sometimes. Okay. Werner is 8 years old and ferreting about in the refuse behind a storage shed when he discovers what looks like a large spool of thread. It consists of a wire-wrapped cylinder sandwiched between two discs of pine wood. 3 frayed electrical leads sprout from the top. One has a small earphone dangling from its end. Jutta, 6 years old with a round face and a mashed cumulus of white hair, crouches beside her brother. That's a glorious sentence. What is that? I think, Werner says, feeling as though some cupboard in the sky has just opened. We just found a radio. Until now, he has seen radios only in glimpses, a big cabinet wireless through the lace curtains of an official's house, a portable unit in a miner's dormitory, another in a church refectory. He has never touched one. He and Jutta smuggle the device back to Victoriastrasse 3 and appraise it beneath an electric lamp. They wipe it clean, untangle the snarl of wires, wash mud out of the earphone. It does not work. Other children come and stand over them and marvel, then gradually lose interest and conclude it is hopeless. Has that ever happened to you? Where you're so into something and you're unraveling it and unpacking it and thinking about it and reading about it and studying it and following more links and pulling out books and going to the library and just digging like this is the most important thing in the entire world, and people are standing next to you and looking and going, God, this is boring, and leaving and just leave? Has that ever happened to you? I'm so glad, Abby, because that happens to me all the darn time. About like almost everything. People are like, how can you be so intense about this? Like, why does this matter so much to you? I'm like, I don't know. It just does. I don't know. I'm just me. It's more of a problem because it happens so often. Yeah. Right. Armored vehicle history. Sheesh, how boring. No. Now I'm like, wait, there's a history of armored vehicles? Why don't I know about this? I gotta get some books. Anyway, I'm a book person because I'm old. I'm going to be the grumpy old grandpa nobody wants to come and see. You watch. Actually, that's not true. I'm never going to get old. Anyway, but Werner carries the receiver up to his attic dormer and studies it for hours. He disconnects everything that will disconnect. He lays its parts out on the floor and holds them one by one to the light. 3 weeks after finding the device. 3 weeks. On a sun-gilded afternoon when perhaps every other child in Zollverein is outdoors, he notices that its longest wire, a slender filament coiled hundreds of times around the central cylinder, has several small breaks in it. Slowly, meticulously, he unwraps the coil, carries the entire looped mess downstairs, and calls Jutta inside to hold the pieces for him while he splices the breaks. Then he rewraps it. Now let's try, he whispers, and presses the earphone against his ear and runs what he has decided must be the tuning pin back and forth along the coil. He hears a fizz of static. Then from somewhere deep inside the earpiece, a stream of consonants issues forth. Werner's heart pauses. The voice seems to echo in the architecture of his head. The sound fades as quickly as it came. He shifts the pin a quarter inch. More static. Nothing. In the kitchen, Frau Elena kneads bread. Boys shout in the alley. Werner guides the tuning pin back and forth. Static. Static. He is about to hand the earphone to Jutta when, clear and unblemished, about halfway down the coil, he hears the quick, drastic strikes of a bow dashing across the strings of a violin. He tries to hold the pin perfectly still. A second violin joins the first. Jutta drags herself closer. She watches her brother with outsized eyes. A piano chases the violins, then woodwinds. The strings sprint, woodwinds fluttering behind. More instruments join in. Flutes, harps, the song races, seems to loop back over itself. Werner? Jutta whispers. He blinks. He has to swallow back tears. The parlor looks the same as it always has. 2 cribs beneath 2 Latin crosses, dust floating in the open mouth of the stove, a dozen layers of paint peeling off the baseboards, a needlepoint of Frau Elena's snowy Alsatian village above the sink. Yet now there is music. As if, inside Werner's head, an infinitesimal orchestra has stirred to life. The room seems to fall into a slow spin. His sister says his name more urgently, and he presses the earphone to her ear. Music, she says. He holds the pin as stock still as he can. The signal is weak enough that, though the earphone is 6 inches away, he can't hear any trace of the song, but he watches his sister's face, motionless except for her eyelids, and in the kitchen, Frau Elena holds her flour-whitened hands in the air and cocks her head, studying Werner, and 2 older boys rush in and stop, sensing some change in the air, and the little radio, with its 4 terminals and trailing aerials, sits motionless on the floor between all of them, like a miracle. All the light we cannot see. Now, first off, Anthony Doerr, who's, here, I'll put that in the chat, who wrote this book, I don't know if I can ever learn to write like this. I just don't. I would love to. God, I would love to. But I don't know if I ever will be able to. But that's what your life should feel like every day. Did you feel that? What if you had never heard music from other than somewhere else, from if you ever got to go to a concert, which you never would in a coal town in Germany, you would never have that. No one you know owns any musical instruments. And all of a sudden, after 3 weeks of tinkering with something, you make a radio and it works. And there is music from somewhere else, from some other place in the world. You don't even know where. You don't know who's playing it. You don't know anything about it. Right. I mean, now you guys have headphones on. I mean, you want music? You want the entire catalog of the entire world's music? You just go youtube.com and blam, you got everything. Don't take that for granted, people. I mean, this is a place and time where to have a book. There's another chapter, I'm not reading you that one, where the little blind girl gets a book in Braille. It's The Three Musketeers, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Can't remember. Doesn't matter. And she reads it until she wears off the dots because it's the only book she has. She has one book. And it's a miracle that she has one book. And you have libraries full of books. And and organizations out there dedicated to the proposition that you should have more. And they will bring them to you and drop them on your doorstep. You click a little button and books appear at your house. If you are not almost in tears over the miracle that that is, then you're doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong. We are the richest people that have ever lived on the planet by such a distance that it's not even comparable. No king, no emperor, no minor god ever had a tenth, a thousandth of the power that you do. Speaking of bringing things and dropping them on our doorstep, the mailman is outside my door right now, dropping something on my doorstep. No, I didn't plan that. It just happens. It's one of those little miracles that I'm very appreciative of, because now should I go see what it is? I'm like, I got to see what this is. There's a package on my doorstep. I kind of got to go see what it is. It's probably not even for me. Mr. C's voice sounds so much cooler and backed by the Skyrim. The Skyrim theme song is awesome. That's great stuff. I love that. Some of the best music in the world right now is being written for video games, by the way. I'll be right back. It's not for me. That's okay. It's all right. Because I have you. Your mom's in Bangladesh helping refugees. Yeah, I mean, in Bangladesh, where as far as poor people go, they're better off than most in world history, you know, but they're still like an order of magnitude, 2 orders of magnitude poorer than we are. We are rich beyond the dreams of mortal men. And we should really appreciate that. That should matter to us. Yeah, Myanmar refugees in Bangladesh. Those people are what you might call poor. It's for my son, Ethan, who apparently now goes by Ethor, according to the package. We might have to have a chat about that, although, frankly, come on, that's cool. So, that's cool. Anyway, welcome to class. I'm so glad you guys are here. That was what you might call like a preamble or a preface or an introduction or a trailer or I don't even know. What's that little, like, at the beginning of all the spy movies, they always start off with like a kind of a short spy thing, and then they go into the regular movie. That's what that was. That's that thing, whatever that thing is. I'm sure there's a name for it. I don't know what it is. Okay. I'm going to apologize right now for the disjointed nature of this class. And this I will explain. It has to do with this thing right here. This is also a book. Here's my favorite thing about this book. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's my book. I have only a copy of my book. Tuesday, I'm teaching class, minding my own business. No, actually, teaching class is minding your business. Whatever. Anyway, teaching class, minding someone else's business, a group of young people's businesses. And I get a text. Hey, Mr. C, the gal that I work with at this company, she calls me Mr. C too, because she used to be one of my students. I love you too, Josie, but don't tell anybody. So, hey, Mr. C, what are you doing tomorrow? ? I forgot to tell you, we're doing a book launch in Los Angeles, and they kind of want to have the author there. Go figure, how weird is that? I know you're very busy, but could you possibly break away? ? I need to know fairly soon so we can get you a plane ticket. All right.
Can I come?
Here's a task. I got this on Tuesday. Did I go? Oh, heck yes, I went. I'm like, you're flying me to LA for a book launch. Yes, I'm going to go. All right, so I went. Got on an airplane early in the morning, stood in the TSA line for 1,000 years until they got finished doing their puppet theater to make us all feel better. And then I went through and they confiscated my pocket knife, which I don't know how many pocket knives I've donated to TSA now, but like dozens. I keep forgetting. I keep one in my bag in case I need one. You never know when you might have to carve up like ox liver or something. I mean, I don't know. My life's got a lot of interesting stuff in it, okay? So I don't know. So anyway, he took my pocket knife, and I'm like sprinting through the airport because I'm late, of course, and trying to get to the gate. I got to the gate. They flew me to Los Angeles, where it's beautiful, and there's palm trees everywhere. And I went to this book launch, and I stood up on stage and talked about the Joker, and I'm not kidding. I'm the oldest guy in the room.
Was it recorded?
Somewhere, I hope. Probably. I don't know. I would really like it. Anyway, if I can find it, I'll post it or something. I don't know. Something. So you guys can see it. Hiram! Hey! Nice to see you. It's like I've never seen you before. Yesterday. So Hiram's in another class of mine. So Hiram's heard all this. So I went to LA and I went to this book launch and they launched my book. Just advanced copies. The real launch happens at Thanksgiving. I will tell you all about that later when I know something. But I probably won't know anything about it until the day before. So they flew me down to LA. Then I flew back the same day. So the entire day was totally wiped out. I missed all my classes. I didn't get a chance to do any of my homework or prep work or any of that stuff. So I have been behind. I feel like Sisyphus trying to push the rock up the hill. And this huge rock, I know any minute is just going to roll back over the top of me. And so, which book are you talking about? This book? This one? No, you can't buy this book on Amazon. You can't buy it anywhere right now. This is the only free range copy in the world at the moment. Sorry. Coming out of the other one. I'll let you know how you can get one. Oh, I should show you my caricature, though. And then I swear we are really going to talk about Egypt. But this is one of those weeks. Do I say that every time we have this class? I kind of feel like I say it every time we have this class. All right, so whenever somebody's quoted in the book. What?
It's just always one of those weeks.
That's cool, isn't it? I like it. You don't have to grow up and be boring, you know.
I know.
You don't have to.
It's great.
You can decide not to grow up at all. Look at me. All right, so every time somebody talks in the book, we have a little picture, a little caricature of them. So here's what I look like according to the caricature artist. I'm not seeing it. But
You look very long and like a cartoon character.
yes, right? They missed the dimple in my chin, though. Just kidding. I don't have a dimple in my chin. So I could have one. I have a Sharpie here somewhere. I'll make it a dimple. Well, you never wanted to do that? Don't tell me you never wanted to do that. Some of you already have dimples in your chin, you manly things. What can I do? Anyway, so the whole book is filled with those. So this has been kind of a week. I'm also, last night I had to go and rehearse a radio play that I'm doing where I get to be the villain in the first act and the hero, or the first show and the hero in the second one.
I love radio plays.
Yeah, so in the first one, I have to talk like this. No, Mrs. Bates, please don't trouble yourself. I will get it myself. You told me you didn't like music. I thought I was very clear about this. I need exact silence. And then in the next one, I get to say stuff like, well, you know, May, if the police come back as a disguise, I might have to kiss you again. Stuff like that. It's fun. I enjoy it. It's good. But then, did I prep for this class? Only like a little. I did finish reading The Golden Goblet. How many of you read this?
Me! And I loved it!
It was good, wasn't it? Morgan, you? Aren't I married? I am married.
I almost finished reading. I didn't finish, though.
I finished it while sitting on a patio in Los Angeles, eating a hamburger and fries. Yes, my wife is amazing. Thank you for saying that, though, Taya. I will pass that along. She'll be very pleased. You didn't read any of it? Why do I send you people email? If you, regardless, I don't care, read it or not, go get it. Go get it, go get it, go get it.
It was amazing.
I'm glad to hear that. What did you think was amazing about it? Vivian, my darling, what did you think?
I don't know, but I loved it from the beginning. It was awesome.
And I see, okay, that's great. And really super vague and like, I believe you, but like, I don't believe you, if you understand what I mean. You are like the queen of precision. It takes you a minute to work your way around to it, but you have to nail the concept. You're not okay with just sort of vague, oh, it was awesome. That's not you. I know you. We had a 25-minute conversation about, what were we talking about the last time we got together? Spent like 25 minutes discussing the nature of the universe or something.
Like when like something happens, if it could happen another way, it creates an entirely new like universe or something.
Right. We discussed multiple universe theory last time. Okay, so don't just give me, well, it was awesome. That's not, no. Hannah.
Well, I loved the gold working and the descriptions of everything.
Find some. You got the book? Find some. Kenna, you read it twice?
So did Morgan.
Wow. Congratulations. You should start a philosophy club online. I'm down, dude. But I don't know how to do that, so invite me and I'll come. I don't know how to do things. I just show up. It's true. Although, I'm the one who arranged this whole Zoom thing. I did that myself.
That's the hard part anyway.
What, setting up the club? Yeah, probably. I'll put people there. I mean, I can do that. But like we were talking about with somebody else was saying, yesterday I was talking to one of the teachers at school. One of my schools may be collapsing. And they're like, well, I said, was somebody else putting one of those together, putting another one together so we can all have someplace to go? Like when this boat sinks, so we got someplace we can go. Like, yeah, somebody's doing that. I'm like, great, as long as it's not me. Because if you put me in charge of that, I'm like the dude who leads the army, but half of his soldiers don't have guns because he forgot to order enough for that. And like some of them don't have food because, oh yeah, food, I forgot. Yeah. But then you stick me on the horse and give me the flag, and I'll go riding back and forth in front of the troops, and man, we will cut our way through anything you want. Like, that's what you want me for. You just want me to show up and get everybody excited. You don't want me to feed them. You don't want me to plan a 5-year-old's birthday party. I don't know how to do any of that. I'm terrible at that stuff. Do what you're good at, people. Do what you're good at. Learn to have basic competence at other things. Do not be like me. But if you don't have basic competence at things, then find someone else who doesn't make him do it. And then you do the stuff you're great at.
This is what we're telling you to do. You have basic competence. We're telling you to do it.
I have basic competence.
I know, so we're telling you to do it.
I got to Idaho. It was close. I almost ran out of gas in the middle of a cornfield.
It happens often.
It was close. I have a 16-gallon tank in my car, and it took 16.4 gallons of gas. So work that out in your head. Anyway, all right. It's going to be one of those classes today. I'm sorry. I'm not giving you your money back, though.
I love these classes.
You didn't pay anyway. So what do you care? All right. So if your parents are listening, I never said that. All right. So Golden Goblet. Give me something. Find something in there that you like, a passage that you liked, or where you learned something. I was really blown away at the level of the low-level detail, the amount of research that went into writing this book. It's one of the reasons I recommended it, is because the level of research into the everyday life of an Egyptian was really amazing, I thought. The author presents things, knows things, shows us a picture of life in Thebes in a really compelling way. Not only was it interesting to read, but there was a huge level of detail. Find some of that stuff and read it to us. Those of you who've got the book here. We are not going to talk about the ending because there are people here who have not read it. But we are going to talk about atmospherically, religiously, grammatically, no, probably not grammatically, but like other stuff with regard to this book. I like the time the main character, I don't know how to spell his name, made Ranifer, I guess. It's like Jennifer, only Rand instead. I started wondering if Jennifer is an Egyptian name, because the Efer is a suffix. You know that, right? That's a suffix. It means something, but I don't know. Google probably does. Somebody find out. Summon the wise men and ask them. But if you didn't read it, that's okay. I'm not going to give away the ending where the main character dies a horrible death. No.
The ending was awesome.
The ending was awesome, but that's all we're going to say about it. Because I don't want poor Rachel Louise to go, well, like, fine, I'm not reading it now. You'd love it anyway if you knew what happened. What? Okay. No, I'm not telling you what the ending is. Read the book. But I want you to find places in here where there's stuff like that. No. Oh, just you. Oh, all right, fine. I'm not giving you a synopsis of the book. You're going to have to read it. It'll take you like half an afternoon. There you go. Beautiful, Morgan. Okay. The book is called The Golden Goblet. By the way. Find something. Well, you do, but somebody else asked. I was being polite, Jetty. Find something and read it to us. Or if you're like Vivian and you probably memorized the entire book, fine, just quote something. Well, you haven't? Was it a slow day? What? Sometimes when I listen to the audio for a while, I can't talk right. All right. Come on, your turn. Audience participation. Here we go.
I did not memorize it. I listened to it on an audiobook, though.
Ooh, cool.
Audiobooks are way better anyway.
My problem with an audiobook is that I can't hear the birds singing in the trees when next to the patio where I'm eating my hamburger and fries while I'm reading the book.
So have one headphone in.
Hey, you can do that?
I now hear much better in my right ear than I do my left ear.
All right, I'll read to you then. Since none of you want to read to me.
Wait. I've got something.
Where I go? Yay!
Okay, so I actually haven't read it, but me and Vivian were talking. So, you could, because of the detail that Vivian was saying, they talk about how the goblet was made and all that, the design, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could take that as like the goblet represents your life and how much care and time you should put into it because it's yours and that's like what you should be working on and like your life mission or whatever, like that's your life and you have to create it. And if it's boring, then that's your own dang fault. So, yeah.
Well, don't compare it to Way of Kings.
I haven't read all the way through The Way of Kings.
How could you? I'm sure there's a universe, Vivian, in which I'm still reading that darn thing because it goes on forever. I took 2 copies out and used it to block my car up while I changed the oil. I did not do that. I did not do that. I don't even like bending the pages of my books.
Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, one in each tire, right?
I haven't. Yeah, really. I have not read Oathbringer.
Are you talking about Dog
So
Ears?
good. I've read it 3 times.
Read what?
What? No, we're not doing that. We're talking about this book right now.
What book?
Relevant comments. Morgan!
Oh.
Is my mic still broken? Yeah. I'm
No,
trying to fix
I
it.
can hear you, Jetty.
You can hear me?
I can.
I fixed it. It's the
Yay! Congratulations.
Me
Now-
too, Jetty.
Talk again.
Now turn it off so we can listen to Morgan.
Fine. I guess I'm not appreciated.
This is part of chapter 2. The light was beginning to fade as Von Echo left Slex's courtyard and hurried down the street of the goldsmiths toward the man. Behind him, the sky flamed over the mummy-shaped outline of the Libyan cliffs, gateway to the awesome valley of the tombs of the kings. Directly ahead of him, across the river with its vivid square sails, rose the high east bank and the other half of the ancient city of Thebes. Massive gateways, temples, roofs, and whitewashed walls rising thick along its crowded streets traced a long, angular pattern across the sky.
What did you like about that?
That part?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked how the author described everything and made it like feel like you're actually there.
Does a really good job of that, doesn't she? She does a really good job of kind of setting you into place and helping you like see the things around. Abby, you had something.
This is just a few sentences, but it says, Ranifer stood nibbling his thumbnail. The very idea of accusing Gebu made him shiver, yet the thieving must be stopped, and there was only himself to stop it. I think that was good because he kind of had a conscience. He knew that it was on his shoulders to kind of stop the thieving.
Yeah, there's a lot of sort of moral dilemmas in there, aren't there? Where the main character knows that he should do something, but what stops him a lot of the time from doing that?
Well, maybe his half-brother or something, because he's so violent.
And is there anything stopping his half-brother from just beating him to death? Not really. Beat him to death, chuck him in the Nile, nobody's ever going to know. Dump him in the desert, nobody's ever going to know. No one's even going to really care. He isn't a slave, right? But isn't he a lot like one in a lot of ways? I mean, he has how much control does he have over his life?
I think on a scale of 1 to 10, he has about a 1.
Yeah. He still does have decisions he can make, right? I mean, and you always do. You always get to a situation, right, Morgan, where you can always still make decisions. But in terms of the big decisions, I mean, what is it that he really wants? What's his, like, if we were talking about his story goal here, what is his story goal? What is it that he wants more than anything else? He wants to be a goldsmith. But here's why I love this book so much. Why does he want to be a goldsmith?
To create things.
He is a creator. He's a maker. I love makers. He seems to have no control over being able to become that. I really loved the descriptions of the goldsmith's workshop. How they really, the author really brought you in there, and she really showed you what the shop looked like and what kinds of tasks you'd be involved in any given day. Right down to as the goldsmiths are working, obviously, they're hammering away and chipping away at things and making wire and stuff. Obviously, some gold comes off of the project that they're working on, right? And the gold piles up on the workbenches and drops down on the floor. And one of Ranifer's jobs, for those of you who haven't read it, is to sweep all that up. But of course, there's quite a bit of gold in there. So he has to sweep it up and weigh it, and then they have to go and put it back in the furnace and refine it again. You're looking for metaphors, since Wolves are into that kind of thing. What is that a metaphor of? Think about that for a second. What could that represent? What kind of a metaphor could that be? Oh, that's so much better. Human society? Okay, I like that. Can you elaborate on that? Then you're next, Taya.
I was thinking, like, some people kind of get swept off into, like, the lower class or whatever, or are born into it, and then to get back into a chance of something better, they have to either work their way up or have children and have them work their way up.
Sort of refining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in Egyptian society, how difficult is that? I mean,
Probably more than usual.
Yeah. What was Ranifer's father? What was it? What did he do?
I don't remember.
He's a goldsmith. I mean, that's almost all the time. If your father's a goldsmith, you're going to be a goldsmith. Your children are going to be goldsmiths. It's possible that you might, be a stonesmith or a stone cutter or whatever instead, but you're going to be locked into one of those trades for sure. And most of the people at those trades, they're not going to work their way up, are they?
Why would you? You get to be a goldsmith. How cool is that?
Okay, that part is pretty cool. But there are even classes within the goldsmiths, right? There's a group of apprentices, but there's also a group of, I don't know, like we wouldn't anymore, but we'd call them dog's bodies, just, gophers. People whose job it is to just fetch stuff, carry things. They don't participate in any of the skilled work. Can the people over here in the dog's body group, in the laborer group, can they move into the apprentice group? No, they can't. There's no method for them to move, is there, Elizabeth? You're stuck. That's your class. That's where you belong. And there's a whole apparatus you have to go through in order to move, even from one class. Isaac, that was highly educational. Even from one group to another within the same shop was almost impossible. Not accurate, as in it was not education. It's very difficult. You have to have a patron. You have to have what is it that allows our hero to get outside of the box that he's been put in? What allows him to do that?
Box cutter.
A box cutter. Taya, you were going to say something.
Yeah, so the pieces of gold could be parts of ourselves that we don't work on. And hold on.
Them.
So it's kind of, I was thinking about it, and it's kind of like when good people try too hard to be successful and they lose a virtue of like kindness, or they lose like all these bits of themselves, that if they want to actually be great, they have to like refine them.
Collect and refine.
And like they have to, like, that's an example, but like you could also say that there's parts of ourselves that we sometimes forget about because we're working too hard towards something else, and it all needs to be put like into something great.
I love that. Both of those I think are really good. As an example, here we are in this class. And for 15 years, I ran a mortgage company. And I knew that I liked teaching, that I enjoyed, especially working with young people. I like teaching anybody. But I especially like working with young people. And here I was spending my time crunching numbers and filling out inch-thick stacks of paperwork. And that, seriously, that's what I did. But I did not throw away those shavings that I felt like I had to leave behind. I did not throw them away. I hung on to them.
For experience.
Wow. And so when the opportunity came to make that into something beautiful, I still had those things there. I didn't forget about them. And I think that's really good. I think that there's a lot of stuff in your life. Sometimes you got to put this thing you love over here for a while, but that doesn't mean you should get rid of it. And you in order to become supremely great at one thing, you have to concentrate and leave a bunch of stuff behind you. But don't throw it away. Don't forget about it. Don't forget that it's there, because you might have a use for that at some point later on. Anybody else? Seeing no waving hands, I will read you one of my favorite little passages in here. I liked even the way they would greet each other, using the names of the gods. And whenever he would talk about his father being dead, people would say, May his 3,000 years be pleasant, or I forget exactly what they said, but you know, the 3,000 years of the soul in
Happiness.
yeah. Yeah, be full of happiness. Yeah, they talked a lot about the Ka. He wears Ranifer. It's even right on the cover. I didn't even notice this until just now. What does Ranifer wear? Do you remember this? To keep his soul inside himself.
An armband.
Wears an arm. What's on the? And he has a little symbol on the armband. What?
Amulet
An amulet. What is this amulet?
is to protect himself against the cats.
What's it called?
A Horcrux?
That is lovely, Jetty, but no, that's a slightly different idea. But
That would have made a lot of sense.
when you take your soul out of your body, use a Horcrux. This is to keep it in your body. It's an Ankh.
A little reverse magic.
Morgan, your face got all excited. Did you remember something?
Researching something. That's what that look means.
That's the researching something look. Okay, cool. Thank you. It's an Ankh. Here. Why don't I share my screen? Share. I'll show you. Yes, fine. Used in ancient Egypt as a symbol of life. There you go. That's what it looks like. So that's an Ankh. It's an Egyptian symbol. I also thought it was cool. Did our main character know how to read?
Yes.
But
A little bit.
a little bit. Enough that becomes actually a critical part of our plot. So a little bit. I liked how periodically he would draw something. He would scribble the things in the sand or whatever so he could practice those. There were a lot of little details like that where I thought that's amazing, the level of detail here, the pinches of grinding sand that he puts into the hole so that the bits can grind into the stone. The kinds of really fine details that really help to bring you into Egyptian life and to kind of give us an idea about what it was really like to be in that situation. Like most stories where your protagonist is trapped, it's really hard sand. I don't know what it's made of, but a really fine grit and the kind of sand that allows. This is why we have sandpaper, by the way. We have sandpaper both for wood and for stone. But sand is really good about that. Sandblasting. I keep trying to scroll down, but it's not your screen. Oh, okay. Well, just say, hey, Mr. C, scroll down. So Mr. C will scroll down. And you can see a bunch of these. Ooh, that one's cool. Like right here, where you have this is an Egyptian sarcophagus right here. This one, holding the Ankh, sometimes called the key of life.
So what I don't understand is why are they holding the key of life when they're dead?
Why would they do that? You're a smart guy. Explain that.
They have this thing where, like, when they die, they go to the land of the dead, and, like, the key of life, maybe will help them through that. And then they can, because they have to go through a bunch of trials or something like that to get to what they call heaven, I guess. So.
Oh,
Yeah, you were
that makes sense.
in Egyptian. Oh man,
What?
that is an ice cream sandwich cookie.
Yeah. What, you don't have one?
Well, not like on me. No.
I got 4 more in the freezer.
Eat one for me, will you? All right. So yeah, I'm hungry. So make sure you eat one of those for me.
Yeah.
Great. So in Egyptian culture, Egyptian mythology, you do go to when you go to the afterlife, there are several rituals you have to pass through. There are guardians of various gates that you have to give them. You have to have keys to get through the gates, and the Ankh is one of those. Is one of those keys. That's not common to all religions, but it is. There are some religions that have those kinds of rituals specifically for the dead.
So what are the other keys, and what do they represent?
I could tell you that, actually, but I can't tell you that because I've made a covenant not to tell you that. That's all I can say about it. I promise you, Taya, I promise you, if you continue on the path that you are on, you will learn those things. But I cannot tell you what they are now. Okay. Sorry. It's all I can say. You understand what I'm talking about? You understand what I'm saying? I cannot tell you those things. We're roughly halfway through. It's time for a song. And today's song comes to us.
Skyrim theme.
Following the leader?
It is not the Skyrim theme. No.
Because I've been playing that this entire time, and it's hilarious.
No.
Can you sing the Portal theme?
No, it's about Egyptian culture.
Oh.
Sheesh.
Walk like an Egyptian.
No, it's not. No. No. This one is different.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? How do I know you're telling the truth?
I will prove it to you, and then you will know.
We don't. Egyptians didn't actually exist. He just made this all up. He wrote the books under a fake name, pseudonym, and yeah, doesn't even exist.
Listen, Copeland, the government
It's
makes...
just one of Mr. C's like made up civilizations.
You know,
I bet he's working for the government.
All the stuff we don't know about them is just him being lazy.
A couple weeks ago, we actually did make up civilizations.
We did.
I know, so how can we trust him?
Well, maybe you can't.
How can we trust anything?
Yeah.
We
Wow,
can.
this is all generation
According to Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians rule everything, so.
He's right. She's right. She's right. Dinosaurs are actually 30 feet tall. Who knew?
Well, there's a couple things that we can trust, like how sugar is healthy for you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right.
Like, exactly like that. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
What you always taught me, Mr. C.
Right. No, I'm with you.
You would never lie to me, right?
No.
See you guys.
And yes, that's totally true. All right, I'm gonna post this in the chat. I want this is our because
Anything can be healthy for you. It just depends on the quantities you consume it at.
That's not actually true. There's some poisons.
I was gonna say broken glass. It seems to me that any quantity of broken glass would probably not be healthy for you. All right, so here's your song.
Hey, buddy.
Then almost anything.
Here's our break song. Take your 5 minutes or whatever. I'm going to play it over here for those of you who don't want to go.
I'd like to talk seriously just for a moment. One of the great art exhibits ever to tour the United States is the Treasures of Tutankhamun, or King Tut. But I think it's a national disgrace the way we have commercialized it with trinkets and toys, t-shirts and posters. And about 3 months ago, I was up in the woods and I wrote a song. I tried to use the ancient modalities and melodies. Would like to do it for you right now. Maybe we can all learn something. King Tut. Now when he was a young man, he never thought he'd see people stand in line to see the boy king. King Tut. How'd you get so funky? Did you do the monkey? Now if I know, then line up just to see. I'd taken all my money and bought me a museum. Married with a donkey. He's my favorite honky. Ladies love this style. Rockin' so high. He ate a crocodile. He gave his life for tourism. Golden idol. He's an Egyptian.
Oh, you're back.
When I die, I don't think I'm a nut. Don't want no fancy funeral, just one like old King Tut. He could have won a Grammy, buried in his jammies.
Condo made of stoner. There you go.
Nice fake applause.
Our ancient Egyptian song from Saturday Night Live from Steve Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, King Tut. And we are actually going to talk about King Tutankhamun.
King Tut had a hut. What color was it?
Wow. Are we going to do something interesting? What? Wow. Wow, Elizabeth.
This is all kind of interesting. Oh, and I have something to show you. Here you go. There you
I
go.
love it. That's great.
Ooh, that's good.
Words of wisdom from Vivian. Yes, we are.
Do not throw yourself away. Instead, collect yourself up.
Collect yourself up. I love it. We are going to learn a little bit about King Tutankhamun.
Could you email me those words of wisdom?
Sure. Vivian will send them to me. I'll send them out to everybody.
You're welcome, everybody.
This particular pharaoh's name is 3 pieces. What are the 3 pieces of the name?
Tutan, Kham, and An. And
Tut, Ankh, Amun. Tut is his father's name. His name was Tutmos, but whatever. Tut was, but the most part is another Egyptian suffix. So the Tut part, that's the name of his father. Ankh is the symbol of life that we just looked at. And Amun, does anybody know what Amun is?
Ammonia.
No.
An Amunya.
No. Amun is a god. Most
God.
closely associated with the god of the sun.
Amun Ra.
Amun Ra, very good, yes. You will have a cult comes up after Alexander the Great comes through Egypt. You have a cult arise, the cult of Zeus Amun, spelled incidentally like this. Some of you will know the name Ammon, and you may not have realized that the name Ammon goes directly back to Amun-Ra, the Egyptian god, the overlord god of the Egyptian pantheon.
That's so cool. I'm so naming my son Ammon now.
Right, no kidding, right? There is actually a guy currently playing college football. I forget what team he plays for. But his name is, believe it or not, Osiris St. Brown. Just like kind of back in thought. Oh! I lost my internet.
Say hi, guys.
Like, he's pretty elaborate, but he was lazy on our part. This is years. Doesn't actually exist.
Oh, Rachel.
Go to Egypt. These giant pyramids, yeah, they don't actually exist. He just messed around with Photoshop for a while.
So all enjoying this?
Oh, this is a big conspiracy. Right, Liam?
Sorry for the noise.
I'm gone 30 seconds.
That's what happened.
You'll be happy to know that we didn't just waste our time. We were talking
Martial
about
law has been
philosophical
declared.
topics.
I'm very happy to know. Anyway, back to Ammon. So Zeus Ammon. So Ammon, the name Ammon, I think it's unequivocal. You stayed quiet and waited for me. Oh, Josh, you're amazing. Sure, yes. I'm glad you did. Wink, wink.
Hey, Mr. C.
And Kenna is
This one's
back
for you.
with guests. Yes, Jetty, what?
This one's for you.
Oh, very good. Thank you. I'm starving.
You're making me hungry.
This was not quiet. No, the minute that the teacher is away, the mice go blah everywhere. So yes, I know. I come back to chaos. Anyhow, so most of
I didn't touch that. Okay.
most of the when the cat's away, the mice will play. Have you heard that? Most of the Egyptian pharaohs, their names are combo packs of prefixes and suffixes and various kinds of things like that. So some of them we know what they mean, and some of them we don't. Or somebody does, but I don't. Anyway, So you can break the names apart sometimes. It's kind of fun to do that and see what they mean. Hey, Jetty, if Josh eats that ice cream sandwich, how will I get full?
I just gave him a bite. I figured you would share.
Well, you should have asked me. I mean, it's my sandwich.
Fine, I'll eat another one for you.
Remember that thing about too much of anything sometimes could be bad? You don't have to worry about that with ice cream sandwiches because, as you know, you cannot have too many ice cream sandwiches.
There's no such thing as too much sugar.
Well, at least in ice cream. There are other kinds of sugar I think maybe you could.
Listen, I've been doing this for years.
All right, I trust you. All right, so ice cream almost killed me once. Did the pallet of it fall over on you, or did you, like...
It came alive!
Difference between me and you, Mr. C, I'm experienced.
Asthma. Yeah, sorry. Yes, clearly you have a level of expertise that is far beyond my own. That's no way. No one has more sugar expertise than I do. And cold stocking lungs. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. I'm glad it didn't kill you though, because I would be very sad that I did not know you. That would be like very sad for me. I bet. That sounds terrifying. All right, so when last we left our Egyptian heroes, I think we were at Hatshepsut. Were we talking about Hatshepsut? Did we get to her? My favorite Egyptian pharaoh. She is thebomb.com. We don't do that anymore, but she is anyway. She is the most powerful of the female pharaohs. There are 3, well, sort of. There's like 2.5. Yeah, the one with the Canyon Palace thing. That's right. Yeah, I showed you. That's called the Valley of the Kings. And in the Golden Goblet, they get to go to the Valley of the Kings. But that is before, this is set just before Hatshepsut comes to the throne. She rules essentially in her name, ostensibly, like she sort of, the fig leaf that she hides behind is that she is regent to her son, Thutmose III, I believe. If I remember right. And he's very young. When her husband, Thutmose II, dies, Thutmose III is like 3 or something. So she rules as queen regent, but then at some point she stops pretending and basically just declares herself co-monarch with the 5-year-old. So, you know, who's running that nursery is all I'm saying. So she also has herself depicted in her statuary with the Egyptian triangular, or the long square beard. You know the kind I'm talking about? Hang on a minute. I'm going to look up the photo.
This, son. I do. Yes, you do.
Yeah, she. So there's significant evidence also in the hieroglyphic record. There's a fair amount of evidence that she declared herself to be a man.
Transgender already. Wow.
Yeah, well, yeah, sort of an early version of that. But why would she do that? Think about culturally why somebody would do that.
Back then.
Because men had all the power.
Yeah. Here's one. Yeah. It's easier to hold on to your throne as a male than it is as a female. But even in the male-looking statues, like this one here, she has very feminine features. That's the one I want is right here. Here's the one with the square beard. But look at this one. She's very feminine features. And so these are accounted to be relatively solid likenesses, what she would have actually looked like. It was easier to hang on to power if people thought, even if you're semi-divine, if you're male, anciently and even in modern culture, it's easier to hang on to power as a male than it is as a female. And that's unfortunate in lots of ways, but also something to pay attention to. She had a fairly lengthy rule. Her rule was apparently quite, now here's an example of a couple things that the symbology here might be familiar. In one hand, she's holding a scepter that has the Ankh on it. I'm not quite sure what that other scepter is. It looks like a kind of a shepherd's crook or something to me. I'm not sure what that is. Also, the Ankh has a kind of a tassel hanging down from it. You could spend literally the rest of your life studying Egyptian symbology and what the meanings of some of these things are. And frankly, that sounds like that would be a pretty cool way to spend your life. I'm just thinking about that.
No, I plan to be a game creator.
Okay. Everybody do what, ooh, we have lizard friends. Is that one of those yellow spotted lizards that if it bites you, you die? The one, like the ones from Halls? No? Oh, good. Because I don't want you to die. But maybe you've been eating onions and they won't bother you if you've been eating onions. I've read my Halls. Okay, I know how it works. If you have not read Holes by Louis Sachar, you should read it.
Sorry, I'll get to that.
One of the best opening lines of a book ever.
In the beginning, the universe was created. This is considered this has made many people very cross, has had overall been considered a bad move.
Yeah, no, that's not it.
Mr. Steve, I hate to disagree with you, but I know the best opening words to a book ever are in the Bible.
In the beginning? Yeah.
God created the heavens and the earth.
Yeah, but the book of John is better. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That's awesome. Yes. Yes. Okay. But there is no lake at Camp Green Lake is a fantastic opening line. That's a fantastic opening line. The restaurant at the end of the universe. Okay, we're not going to do the literature class right now, but maybe we will have a literature class like in one of our next classes.
Okay.
I also do teach a literature class, FYI. This is not it, but maybe we'll do that next year or something. I don't know. Actually, next year, I already know what I want to do. Next year, I want to teach a class on the Three Musketeers, but they're not who you think they are. But they're not who you think they are.
I think they're the Three Musketeers, am I right?
The Three Musketeers, like the real story with the four of them, it's, yeah.
Yes, the Three Musketeers plus D'Artagnan. No, this would be the Three Musketeers, the Three Dumas.
Doesn't add up. Three Musketeers is not four Musketeers.
Okay, it's not the Four Musketeers, but the Three Musketeers had like an apprentice that they were training, kind of
Well,
thing.
he's a kid from the sticks, from the backwoods. He's nobody.
Oh, which explains why I don't know him.
Yes, his name is D'Artagnan. I actually have a friend named D'Artagnan, believe it or not. His parents named him D'Artagnan.
So the reason, this is going to be super dumb, okay? but there's a Barbie Three Musketeers, and they have 4 Musketeers because of the
I've
fourth
seen
one.
that.
But that's why. But yes, that's what got me into the actual story.
No,
Stop
we would-
shaking your head,
this
Miss
would
Ruby.
be.
It
this
got
would
me
be-
interested.
Well, I bet. Hey, that however you get into it is good. Now we are not. Where are you doing to my screen here? So the no, this would be a class on the 3 Dumas. Alex Dumas, the father of Alexandre Dumas, who wrote The Three Musketeers, and whose life is mind-blowingly incredible. I just started reading a book
Kinda
called
like
Black Count about this. So that's probably next time.
Incredible.
Just he has an extensive made-up history. Yeah, incredible.
Kind of like
As
my life.
in, it surpasses all belief.
So it's like my life.
Yeah, very much. Like I kept reading and thinking, man, this is just like Jetty.
Yeah, you know, except he's not as great, but you know.
Yeah, I
All right.
don't think that actually like occurred to me.
You know, Jetty, I love it when you have a humble moment.
Thank
Isn't
you.
it great? Egyptian God, set of 13. What are you gonna now watch? He's gonna buy this using my Amazon account. I can't stop him because he has control of my screen. I knew I shouldn't have clicked allow. I knew I shouldn't have. But it's too late now.
Who has control? Exactly.
Copeland. Yeah. So we'll see what he does. Anyway, while we're talking about this,
Copeland, can you purchase me a sword?
King Tut is probably Hatshepsut's grandson or great grandson. Thutmose, Thutmose pharaohs expanded Egypt. They were fairly important guys. And then the Hyksos pharaohs take over after that. There's only a couple other guys to pay attention to beyond that. We did talk about Ramesses, didn't we, last time?
What?
We talked about Ramses last time, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We
Thought we did.
talked about that.
Yeah, I thought we did. After this, this is about the period where, according to Susan Wise Bauer anyway, this is about the period where the Hebrews leave and go off into the wilderness.
Don't judge me.
I judge you as awesome.
Listen, I want to be a fat boy and eat more fat boys. I can
Ha.
do
Ha! You have to be quick. All right. Anyway, so to finish up with our Egyptian thing, there's 2 things I need to talk about with regard to Egypt, and one of these things I'm going to talk about a lot more in the next class, but I want to brush over it right now. Somebody tell me basically the story of the Hebrews in Egypt.
They were enslaved. Moses came.
Yeah, go back earlier. And somebody besides Jetty. I've heard enough of you for a while. What's the story? How does it get started?
Joseph.
All right, maybe we will hear from Jetty. Okay. So tell me, what's the story? Tell me briefly the story of Joseph. Somebody besides Jetty. Yay, Mighty Bex. Rachel Louise.
Story of Joseph of Egypt.
Okay, I'm ready.
Shh, Copeland, shush. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so the story of Joseph is he has his, I can't remember his father's name, but he has 11 brothers. So there's 12 kids in the family.
You can remember his name. The 12 tribes of
Israel.
Oh, dang it.
There you go. You got it.
Okay. Yeah, and so
What? 12 sons of Jacob.
Joseph was like his father's favorite because he was really nice.
And because he was the son of his favorite wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. He was not very nice.
I know his favorite wife's name. Rachel.
I'm surprised. I'm stunned that you know that. Yes, Joseph was actually not very nice. Joseph was actually kind of a snot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many of you have little brothers?
Well, he was.
Yeah, how many of you want your little brothers to come into breakfast?
Father, it wasn't Joseph's fault. It was.
No, it is his fault. He shows up.
They're the one who made him the coat and everything.
He shows up at breakfast one morning and he says, "Hey guys, I had this cool dream."
Yeah, it's like.
But what little brother wouldn't say that?
Well,
Yeah.
that's fair. We're listening to Rachel Louise now.
Okay, so they were like kind of mad. They're like, we want like this really cool coat too. So when he came like back out because they were like tending the sheep, I think at first they put him in a pit.
Well, Israel sent the brothers to go. Wait, no, he sent Joseph to go find the brothers, and then that's it.
Keep going.
Yeah. And then at first they like put him in a pit, but then some translators from Egypt came along and they pulled him out and decided to sell him to Egypt so he'd become a slave. And they did that, and then I think they took a blood of a sheep or something and then put it on his coat because they took the coat from him. And then they showed it to their father and said that some great beast in the wilderness must have killed him.
Yes. Good. Okay. So Joseph ends up in Egypt where everything goes great for him.
After some
Not
rough.
at first.
Not at first.
Not really. He ends up in jail.
Yeah.
That song though when he's going to the tree. No.
How's he get out of jail?
Pharaoh calls for him.
Morgan needs to say something.
Okay, Morgan.
Does anyone know how he got in jail?
I do.
Abby.
He got in jail because this important lady, I don't know, she was like, why don't you lay down with me? And that's something you shouldn't do or something. And so it's not a good thing. And he's like, no. And then I forgot, did he just.
Okay, so.
Actually, I didn't hear that.
Actually, so she went to her husband and she accused him of wanting to do it with her because she's like, here's his garment because he actually grabbed it on the way. So that's why, because obviously the Pharaoh believed her more than. So,
Well, at least Potiphar did. Potiphar is his master, and he probably had to believe his wife. There's almost no, I can't really think of any marriage that's going to survive.
Yeah, she's joining me on my iPad, and we're going to eat ice cream sandwiches together.
So I can't imagine that there's a marriage that's going to survive if you believe the slave over your wife. You see what I'm saying? So almost certainly he's got to believe his wife. So he does, and gets Joseph sent to prison. How Joseph gets out of prison, though, is what directly bears on our lesson today. Yes, Abby.
Pharaoh had a dream, and then Joseph interpreted it. I think one of them was the 7 skinny cows, and then 7 fat cows, and then 7 skinny cows come in, eat up the 7 fat cows, and he didn't know what it meant. Then I think there was another one, there was a statue, and somehow it got broken. But Joseph interpreted that both of those were meaning that a famine was coming, and
They make it a little bit
The
different.
broken statue is Daniel.
That kids understand. That's the Pharaoh of James.
Yeah, the broken statue is Daniel. But there's the 7 fat cows and the 7 lean cows, and then there's 7 ears of corn. There's 7 full ears of corn and 7 blasted ears of corn, which is interesting that we don't mean corn here, not maize, like corn on the cob, yum, yum, yum. No. When they're talking about corn, they're talking about wheat or barley. But either way, same sort of metaphor. Joseph interprets the dream and explains to Pharaoh what the dream means, which is what? Kenna! First hand in the air.
Okay, so it meant that first there would be 7 years of plenty, like all their crops would be good, and the land would have lots of food and no famine. And then 7 years after that, then there would be 7 years of famine. So then Joseph says, okay, so he presents this, what the dream means to the Pharaoh, and then he tells the Pharaoh, this is what we're going to do. We're going to save half of what we got from the 7 years of plenty, and then we're going to save that for the 7 years of famine. And then when they did that, they did that, and they stored all of this food and meat and stuff like that, and then when the famine came, they were prepared, and they were the most prepared country, and everyone came to them for food so that they could survive the famine.
Right. Very good. Excellent retelling. Well done, Kenneth. So the Joseph comes and says, here's what's going to happen. And Pharaoh says, okay, you take care of it. And Joseph's like, whoa, me? But Joseph is really good at planning stuff and organizing things and putting stuff together. So Joseph is the one who starts arranging this. And we have fairly good evidence that stuff like this actually happened. They stored grain in big grain silos. And then everyone in the kingdom was required to bring either all of or some of the grain from their harvest to probably just some of, to the central grain storage units. Now, a couple things about this. First of all, what happens, think about this, just think about the logistics of this. What happens if you store tons and tons of grain in a single place? What are you going to get fairly quickly?
Lots of grain.
Well, we have cows and we have lots of grain, so I know this, but usually get bugs or mice.
Mice, yes. Bugs to a lesser degree. Also robbers. Yes, you're going to have to guard it for sure. But you're going to get mice. So if you're going to control the mice, what do you want to use?
Cats.
You're going to use cats. And what animal is sacred to Egypt?
Cat.
Cats. Isn't that amazing? What a shocker that cats would become sacred animals. And mousetraps, yes. And probably dogs. Jackals, hyenas, but they don't tame well. Jackals don't tame well, and cats do, sort of. Cats really domesticate
Cats
humans.
pretty much do their own thing.
Yeah, but if there's lots of mice around, they like that. Plus, if you feed them, they hang around. So, generally speaking. So that's one thing. But here's another thing that we do not talk about, and I don't know why this isn't a significant part of our of the culture in terms of when we teach about Joseph in Egypt. I really don't know why we don't talk about this. Let me give you an example of something here. I want to show you something. And I'm going to explain, this has great significance, but probably gets missed in most history books. And in fact, I don't see a whole lot of it even in Susan Wise Bauer. I found this out from doing a lengthy study of monetary theory and how money works. This right here is a pretty good example. I'm not sure that this is what this says, hieroglyphically, but something like this. When you brought your grain to the central repository, you would have received something like this. This is called an ostrakhan. I think it's, maybe it has it right there. Well, maybe not. This isn't exactly that, but it's similar sort of a thing to an Egyptian ostrakhan. An ostrakhan just means sort of a piece of, like a shard of a tablet, a little piece of clay. Okay, so on this ostrakhan would be written the date and the amount of the deposit that you made into the repository. You dumped in so many bushels of grain. And then what would happen is that becomes a chit that you can use if you go back to the repository. They will give you out of the repository whatever is on your ostrakhan, whatever's written there. Those of you who are quick on the uptake, what does that actually turn that ostrakhan into?
A form of currency.
It's money. Very good. Yes, that's correct. It turns it into money. Now look, it's not quite the same, but it's close. And the Egyptians used these ostrakhan, these ostraka, they would trade them back and forth with each other. But here's the kicker on this. They lose value over time because grain spoils, gets eaten by rats and mice. It has to be guarded, which is expensive. Somebody has to build the grain repositories, which is expensive. So you turn it in, let's say you turned in 10 bushels of wheat. When you go back again a month later, you get 9 bushels of wheat. I'm making that up. We don't know exactly how this is called a demurrage charge, which you do not need to remember. But those of you who think monetary theory is fun and how the theory of money works and how finances control societies, you might want to pay attention to this next part. So what happens is, if money loses, let's go through this example just real fast. All right, so I handed out to each of you a $100 bill. Congratulations. But the first...
You're the best, Mr. C.
You're welcome. After Halloween, however, that will only be worth $90. And after Thanksgiving, it'll be worth $80. And after Christmas, it'll be worth $70. What are you going to do with your $100?
Spend it now in something that will get worth more. Yes, I meant it like that.
Bingo.
Gold.
Okay, gold is not a bad thing to do. Although, in the Middle Ages, people that had gold, taxes would be collected from them by the king's tax collectors. They would come around and you didn't have coins. Most of the time you didn't have coins. You would have a bar or a block or whatever of gold. They would come along with a knife and shave off gold as taxes. So it becomes worth less over time. Right, you're going to spend it right away. And the things that hold their value the most or that increase in value are things like land, farming implements, tools, and whatever, irrigation, temples, fancy porticos on your house, that kind of thing. Here's one of the great secrets of the Egyptian economy. They used this money and this negative interest rate, and demurrage charges a negative interest rate. It increases what's called the velocity of money. Now, right now, if I actually handed you a $100 bill, you'd probably save a bunch of it, right? At least I hope you would. Because money, in our society, money increases in value if you save it. Well, inflation eats it up, but ignore that for the moment. But in this society, it loses value. Which means that you're going to almost immediately start looking for places to spend it. Let's say that you did that. that you had an economy where that was the way that things worked. When somebody went to the store, instead of thinking, how can I save as much money as possible, what are they thinking?
How much can I get?
How much can I spend? How can I spend as much money as possible? Now, does your little roadside lemonade stand take in $2.50 for a day? No, no, no. Now everybody that's driving by is like, hey, here's a chance to offload my money, get some lemonade. Sweet. You pay for labor. You pay for, even if labor in advance. So I have 10 of these Ostrakhan. That's enough for you as a laborer to feed your family for the day. I have 10 Ostraka. I'll give you all 10 of these if you promise to dig a wide irrigation ditch that'll take you like a year, but then allows me to farm more cropland. So you get enough money that you can feed your family, and I get an expansion to my field so I make more. Do you see how this works? In a society like that, what happens? How hard does it become to stay poor in a society like that? Where everybody is doing everything they can to get rid of as much money as possible as fast as they can.
I would say I'd be the richest. And then
what happens is the money moves around so fast, and as soon as you get the Ostrakhan, what are you doing with it? You're looking around for somebody to buy something from, somebody to do something work for you or whatever. Here's the fun part. There are a couple places in history that people have tried this again. And it works. And I will teach you more about that next time. We don't have time to talk about that right now. But
I'm sorry, you
Joseph
out right there. What'd you say?
This is Joseph's economic system. This is the system that Joseph in Egypt put together to kind of strengthen the Egyptian empire. And what it did was it completely changed their economy. And I seriously want to go on for like a half an hour more about the amazing stuff that I learned about this when I was studying it, but I can't do that because we don't have enough time. So we'll talk about it next time. But believe me, this stuff is mind-blowing. And for those of you who are interested in an economic system that would support the concept of charity and the worship of a true and living God, I'm going to blow your mind in 2 weeks. All right, so...
You should write a book about this, Mr. C.
Somebody already did. That's why I know this stuff.
What's it called?
I'll tell you next time. I don't want to give away my secrets.
But I want your secrets.
Okay, well, email me and then I'll give you my secrets.
Okay.
What's your email address?
It's Mr. C at aliasmrc.com.
I thought you said you changed it.
I'm not telling you all my email addresses.
Hey, I have a question.
Taya has a question, ladies and gentlemen.
What's the meaning of life?
It's 47, isn't it?
No.
42.
42.
Yeah.
I always get that wrong. I have the wrong meaning of life.
Is this in Star Trek?
What is the meaning
That's
of
not
life?
what it's from.
Yeah,
I like my favorite answer to that question, to answer your question relatively seriously. Shh.
Actually,
To answer your question relatively seriously, my favorite answer to that question comes from Viktor Frankl, who says, it's not the meaning of life, it's the meaning you put into life.
wow, nice answer.
Life has the meaning you put into it. Don't expect life to give you meaning. Give meaning to your life. There you go. Rachel Louise.
I would say, did you have a bad day or did you make it a bad day?
Oh, no, I always have a bad day.
That's sad.
I never make it bad.
Because then it's always your fault, and it makes you feel worse.
I like to take a sad song and make it better.
Hey, Mr. C, this is my brother Israel.
Hello, Israel.
Hey, Israel!
Wow.
We miss you. Sorta, not really.
He's a nice-looking guy. What happened to the rest of you?
Israel had a question. Yeah, Israel had a question, and
We all want to know. None of us can figure it out.
Yeah. He's a
Really,
relative.
Mr. C? Really?
Really? Sorry. That was rude. I apologize. Sometimes I like to out-rude people. It's kind of fun. Okay. Fool's not a nice word, so stop using it on me. Well, I don't know. Spelled backwards, it's loof, which doesn't actually mean anything. But that's okay. Okay, so for next time, hoorah! The very end of the Egyptian Empire. The collapse as Alexander the Great comes rolling down the Levant. He is unstoppable. Yes, please, Alan, I would be thrilled to help you with that. I'm serious. If you have speech, debate things you want me to read or whatever, please send them to me. I don't have time to read them, but I'll take time to read them anyway because it's more fun than doing my homework. I have classes too, and I don't like to do my homework. So I would rather help you.
Thank you, Mr. C. You're a great example.
Don't be like me, kids. I say that, how many times a class? I don't know. Don't be like me. I don't even want to be like me, but what choice do I have? So, just once, I'd like to go to a movie without me. But wherever I go, there I am.
How irritating. That must
I
be
know,
so
right?
frustrating.
Yes!
I mean, you're so annoying. How do you live with that?
Exactly! That's what I'm talking about. Think of what it's like to be me. I have to be with me all the time.
I'm so sorry.
Never get rid of
I
it.
know. Mine is a hard lot. It is.
Just be grateful you're not Josh, otherwise you'd have to spend every day with me.
That would be
You
my
guys, stop
Yeah, that would-
demeaning yourselves and each other.
Yeah, that would be worse.
But we're out-rooting rude people.
Right. Okay. So stop it. All right. So we are down to the last. We're down to the last bits here. So we'll talk about the Egyptian monetary system as imposed by Joseph. We'll play a little game having to do with that. At least I hope it will work. I've tried it online, so maybe we'll have to wait and do that in person. I know I want to do that in person. I think. Hang on.
Handsome mustache.
Hang on. Okay, so if you have work, I'm sorry to hear that. In, I think it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I can't remember. First week of November, I think I come back up there. Wow, we're doing straw mustache.
Yay! Up they're pencils.
Oh, they're pencils. Okay.
Second week of
Um,
October, not the first week of September.
of November? The last week of October? I can't believe that's right. Anyway, whichever it is.
Oh, it's the second week of October right now.
Right, I know. But I'm coming up there. Trying to remember. I think it's 3 weeks.
Update. 3 weeks.
I think it's 3 weeks.
Who knows anything? Like, really?
But you can't know anything. We just discussed this.
Mute. Okay. So I have 2 or 3 ideas for stuff that we could do. The problem is the weather's going to be iffy. It'll definitely be chilly, but it might be snowing, it might be raining. I mean, nobody knows what the weather's going to be like. So I want to plan for both being able to do some stuff inside and some stuff outside. So
Teddy. Stop it.
My face has just been.
So I'll send out an email and we can talk about what we want to do. We'll definitely do the kind of money game thing because it's fun. And you can do that inside or outside. But then for the rest of it, we'll have to see. So I want you to, in the next couple weeks, want you to use this book right here. Yes, good. Okay, run with me on this. I want you to use this book right here. And I want you to find a pharaoh that comes, where do I want him? Let's see. Struggle of the Gods, Amenhotep. Ooh, he's cool, though. Amenhotep? Yeah, okay. That one of the pharaohs that comes after page Struggle of the Gods. Yeah, okay. So beginning on page 229. Okay, this is chapter 32, Struggle of the Gods. Find a pharaoh between there and Alexander the Great. And be prepared to give us just a couple minutes about, okay, well, this is after chapter 32 then, Logan. This is the homework, yes. Be prepared to give us a couple minutes on that pharaoh. You will probably have to do more research than just what is in this book in order to be able to do that. This is a pretty high-level overview of it, so you're probably going to need to do a little extra research in order to do that. We will not have time to get to everybody, I'm pretty sure, in terms of all the research that you did. So be prepared to either record it for me or send it to me or whatever. This is The History of the Ancient World by Susan Wise Bauer. I will send that out in an email as well. But be prepared so that I have a chance to see it.
Okay, I think I got it, but just in case.
Yeah, great. I'm not doing that. I know that joke.
Lego movie quotes. Why do you keep muting me?
Why do I keep muting you, Jetty?
Because I'm awesome.
That's
no one
right.
can hear my righteous words.
That's correct. The guilty take the truth to be hard, and I'm guilty, so I'm not listening to you. All right, so that's homework. I will email that out. I'll also talk about the lesson plan from here on. We're going to wrap up Egypt, and we will move on to Greece. We will begin at the ancient age of Greece. We'll talk about Minoan Crete. We'll talk about bull dancing, which is way cooler than you think. We will talk about the labyrinth and the Minotaur. We will talk about the crappy physics of the Icarus story. We will talk about... Peace out, Isaac. We will talk about... Oh my gosh, I can't even. There's just too much.
Oh, I know what we'll talk about.
Which is?
Greek gods.
And goddesses.
And goddesses.
Oh, yes.
Zeus Ammon.
We'll talk about Zeus Ammon. We will talk about, eventually, Alexander the Great. We will talk about Solon and Pericles and Demosthenes.
Love that dude.
We will talk about Phidippides.
Love him.
Phidippides is great. We'll talk about Epaminondas.
How about Heracles?
We'll talk about Heracles, of course. We'll talk about Epaminondas, who is the greatest general you've never heard of. We will talk about Alcibiades. We will talk about Euripides, Eumenides. We will talk about Sophocles and Aeschylus.
When my family was in a co-op, Egyptian and Greek history were my favorite. Oh, yes.
Well, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle,
Plato.
Philip II of Macedon.
Mr. C, could you put your email in the chat, please?
I shall indeed.
Mr. C?
Yeah.
Why do all Greek names end with E's?
They don't, said Aeschylus.
Most Greek names.
And Plato.
E's.
It's Greek ending. That's the ending for names. Why? I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that. Maybe you should find that out.
I would, except it sounds like a lot of work involved.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, I gotta get my beauty rest.
Right, yes, clearly.
I've worked hard enough today. Now how many times I've counted these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarters.
IDK means I don't know, Hiram.
Okay, now it's done. Mr. C, I have to go. Bye.
Bye, you guys are
Goodbye.
wonderful. Have a lovely time. I will see you whenever I see you again. Send me email. I will send you email. And then one day soon, we'll have this lovely opportunity again. Don't forget to be grateful. 5 gifts of Hathor. 5 things you're grateful for every day. Be grateful every day. I'm grateful for you. Insanely grateful. And thank your parents. Please thank your parents for being willing to get you into this class so that I have a chance to hang out with you. Because honestly, it's like one of the most fun things I do.
In this quarter,
Jetty, you're just not as interesting as you think you are.
No.
Outrooting rude people, I believe is the quote of the day.
Yeah.
Was that all?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
but we actually have a moment to chat. I just stuffed Jetty into the waiting room. So,
there's such a thing? Awesome. Why did we do that all along?
Because I like Jetty. Don't tell him I said that, but I do. I like him. I love his enthusiasm. He reminds me, sadly, so much of me.
How annoying must that be?
Right? You guys all have this sort of distorted opinion about me. I'm really not as smart or as nice or as interesting as people think I am. That was one of the things.
But you are interesting. You really are.
I'm glad you think that. I think you're very interesting too, Vivian.
Thank you.
But that was one of the things that was weird at the book launch. Like I'm the author, and they're parading me around on stage, and everybody's cheering, and I'm like, this is not as big a deal as you guys are making this out to be.
Look, none of us mortals have that much patience.
It doesn't matter, Mr. C. We're encouraging you.
I appreciate that, and it's very nice. But I seriously was feeling like an imposter the whole time. Like at some point, somebody is going to wake up and go, "Wait a minute, he's just a dude."
Okay, I gotta go.
It's hope of replicating you. Sweet.
You're just a dude, but you're doing great things.
I'm glad to hear that. Vivian, you're like super positive.
Vivian.
Always super positive.
I'm glad to hear that. Whenever I get down, I'm going to email you and say, Vivian, I'm not feeling super positive, and you can make me
I can cheer you up as much as I want.
I would love that. All right, people. It's 11:11. That's the witching hour. Adios. I will see you another time.
See y'all later.
Goodbye. See you all later.